When you first meet a woman, you should be aware that women by nature are loquacious, which is to say they like to talk. If you encounter a woman that's having trouble having conversation with you, this is a very clear indicator that she's not interested, and that's okay. It happens every now and then. The reason you should respect this is because it's an indicator that there's no chemistry. So why would you encounter a woman who is not really engaging you in conversation, and then you're trying to do the hard work of convincing her to be interested in you when you could say, hey, nice to meet you. Here's my business card. If you're interested, follow up. If not, cool. And then use your time to talk to someone who is more vibing with who you are, the way you look, your situation in life. You know, that is what you want to focus on, the woman who likes you. Because as a P will tell you, it's not about who you like, it's about who likes you. When you find the woman that you like and she can tell that you like her, you're really into her, it's almost a turnoff for a female because she finds you to be thirsty. And the more you like her, the more she feels like, oh, maybe I'm too good for this guy because he's putting me up on a pedestal. Maybe he's not used to women who are as good looking as I am. Maybe I'm too good. That's why they like that guy that treats them like dirt, because it makes them chase. It makes them feel like, well, if he's treating me like dirt, maybe I'm not good enough for him. Maybe I have to prove myself to him. I got to chase him. I don't want him to leave me. You see what I'm saying? You want the woman who wants you, the woman who likes you. So let me give you this major piece of nugget knowledge from a pimp, which is this. It is much better to spend 1 minute talking to 100 women than to spend 100 minutes talking to 10 women. I'm going to say that again. It's much better to spend 1 minute talking to 100 women than it is to spend 100 minutes talking to 10 women. Move quickly. Once you find the chick who's vibing with you and who's interested in you, that's where you invest the time. But most of the time, you're knocking on doors to see what's behind the door. Huh? Come on now. Because the Saints have told me like, oh, you know, I'm having trouble getting the conversation going. That's probably because she's not interested. Now, granted, there are some situations wherein you're not spitting the game well enough. And if you're a member at marquettism.com or any of the member sites, check that last video. One of the Saints shared a text message conversation. I broke down the text message conversation. He was having trouble with the conversation, not because she wasn't interested, it's because the game wasn't pristine. So I pointed out the mistakes that he engaged in, which are common mistakes, and I gave specific recommendations of, you should have said this. She said this. This would be an appropriate response. When she communicated this information, that lets you know she's interested in the following thing. You should have said this. And there's 3 ways of approaching females. There's strolling, taking your time, jogging, you know, we're moving along, and sprinting. You're dealing with a woman who's promiscuous, let's sprint, let's get to the point. You're dealing with an average woman, let's go ahead and jog, see what it do. And then you're dealing with a woman who is a devout Muslim. That's a woman that's going to require that patience of you. You see what I'm saying? The Master Sun Tzu notes that victory is fashioned from the dynamic of the enemy, which is to say that based on the nature of the girl you're spitting game at, you got to adjust the game to her. Huh? We don't spit all the same game at different women. That's not sensible. Yoel writes, I thought good women are supposed to make you wait for intercourse. How can you tell if she's genuinely conservative or just wasting your time? Phenomenal question. That's the relevance of the Dr. Phil process. The Dr. Phil process is going to take you into her background, her romantic background, her boyfriends. How many has she had? What are the nature of her boyfriends? How did they do her dirty? In understanding those things, you're going to get a clear picture of who this woman has been in real life. Further, learn who her friends are. Birds of a feather flock together. I can assure you, you will not have a saint hanging out with sinners. It just does not happen like that. So if the female is truly conservative, you'll find that her friends are conservative. But more likely, you're going to find the following. You ever talk to a girl and she's telling you about her friends and she's like, oh yeah, but my friend so-and-so, she's a hoe. And you're thinking like, well, if she's a hoe, why do you hang out with her? Well, here's the funny thing. That friend that she said is a hoe, that friend is probably talking to her boyfriend, talking about your girl like, oh yeah, so-and-so is a hoe. Which is to say every female has a friend who's a hoe. What this really means is they are the hoe. because birds of a feather flock together. And when they're talking about all the wild things that their girlfriends did on their last girls' trip, well, they did those things as well. And they're really probably testing you to see how you react when they tell you what their girlfriend did. They're trying to see if you judge. You would be wise to withhold your judgment, especially if you're dealing with a side girl or a one-hitter quitter. Withhold your judgment, because that will keep her talking. That will make her open up to you and give you more information. So a wise man always thinks before he speaks. In fact, there's a poster that reads, should this thought become a word, an action, or nothing? Often the thought should become nothing. The man who uses few words has more power in his words, for the audience will wait patiently to get some knowledge from the king who rarely speaks. That which is rare has more value. That which is freely given has very little value. Women are loquacious, verbose. They talk endlessly. That's why half the time we're tuning them out. Thank you for that question, Saint. That was a very meaningful one. I really want you all to be aware that the law of large numbers is a critical aspect of getting the woman you want and getting the volume of women that will allow you to have that abundance and wealth. In other words, to have a stable. The trouble is sometimes you get obsessed or narrowly focused with one particular woman, not realizing that most of these women are the same anyways. You like this girl, there's probably one just like her down the street. They're mostly obsessed with the same occupations, social media, attention, things like this. So the reason that you're talking to a volume of women is so that you can find what's called chemistry, so that you don't have to force things. There's flow in your interaction, because at the end of the day, you don't want your woman to be a heavy lift. You want there to be a level of ease when dealing with the woman. And when there's that ease and that natural connection, you know that she likes you for you. She doesn't like you because you tricked her, because you spit some crazy game at her, because you got the fancy car. She met you and liked you just how you were. And so you can rely on the fact that whatever you present to her, as long as it's authentic, she will be retained based on that. For example, I got a number of females. When I go out with them, I don't even get dressed. I just put on a kangaroo. You heard me? It's this product I haven't come out with. But basically, it's a onesie. It's a Islamic style thobe with a big pocket on the chest. It's like I don't even get dressed. You feel me? And they don't care what I'm wearing, because they like the big homie because he's the big homie. And nobody they encounter in the society is the big homie. They could encounter somebody in a Bentley, all this jewelry and money. They still don't add up to the big homie. So it doesn't matter what I wear, because they like me for who I really am. And that goes back to that 3-sentence Bible. Number 1, be yourself. Number 2, be good to yourself. Number 3, be good to good people. When you live by that, the woman will attract to that. When you are who you really are and you're sharing that with her, she gets to know that and appreciate that. There's only one of you, which means she can never replace you. You dig what I'm saying? And here's another thing. We love those who love us. So show sincere love. You heard me? She's going to appreciate the way you show her love. Because if you really Dr. Phil her, you'll be able to love her in a way no one's ever loved her, because you actually know who she is. I got one female who will remain nameless. She's in Southern California. And this female is promiscuous. And I know she's promiscuous. I grew up with her. And she knows I know she's promiscuous, so she can always be honest with me. You dig? Now, granted, she's not a main girl material, and she knows that I would never elevate her to that. But she has such a deep and pure love for me, because she doesn't have to lie to me. She doesn't have to pretend in front of me. She can be herself. And you know what makes people feel so relaxed and calm and confident and comfortable? When they can be themselves. You heard me? I know who she is, and I allow her to be herself. And that's a comfortable position for a woman, especially because they're insecure. And you've removed that handicap from their personality. But here's the thing. She only feels that calmness and that coolness in my presence. You heard me? She doesn't feel that in her husband's presence. She doesn't feel that in her girlfriend's presence. She doesn't feel that in the presence of strangers. She feels that cool breeze when I'm around. I am the cool breeze. And that is what you're positioning yourself as, saints.